This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Bitcoin making a move. That means Jasmine's now making a move. It's up 3.7% up to 44. I love it. I love it. Bitcoin is soaring, Cam. Soaring.
I will say that I'm eager to see it because I got onto Bitcoin when everything was starting to decrease. And so I have only felt the downfall, but I know there's got to be another up.
Oh, so you didn't buy it when it went all the way down to 16.5?
When it went up to 65?
No, down to 16.5.
Oh, no. I bought it higher. Like I bought it probably about a year and a half ago when I started to buy it.
You bought it at 50. You bought it at 50.
Yeah, and so I've got the big downhill, which I didn't spend a lot of money. Like I didn't buy a whole Bitcoin. I'm not like I didn't spend that much money. But
just to help you out a little bit here, and I don't mean anything bad by this. This is all constructive criticism for you. When you invest, and if you believe in your investment, which kind of tells me you really didn't believe in it, didn't really like have conviction in it. But the idea is if when it's going down, I know it sounds crazy,
but buy a dip, right?
You have to buy it all the way down. And you keep buying and buy more as it goes down. Okay? Because that's how you make your money. Because you then lower your overall price. And then when it bounces back, it's multiplying quickly.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So
I understand that. And I did.
Think about all the shit I bought at 16.5, at 17, at 17.5, at 18, at 18.5, at 19, at 20, at 20, and now it's at 31. I'm way in the green now. Gotcha. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why, because on the way down, I just kept, and then as it had the fluctuations and the dips that continue to happen, I kept buying and I kept buying. I kept lowering my overall price. You know, I think my Bitcoin overall price now is somewhere in the 21 range.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm way in the green already.
Yeah, I bought a little bit towards the downhill, but I didn't buy all the way to the teens. So I think my price is probably like 40 something, maybe 42.
I bought it for the first time at 38, and I bought it all the way to 50. I didn't buy a lot, but I bought some. And then it went to 67, you know, and then when it started to come down, and once it hit 40 and started going into the 30s, I started buying again a little bit. And then as it got lower, I loaded. I said, oh, I'm buying more. Right. And I dedicated a lot to it because that's what you have to do. You have to try to lower your overall price. So when it does go parabolic, boom, you're already in the green and making a little extra cash, which is never a bad thing, by the way.
No.
All right. So did you enjoy the draft last night?
I did. The Sixers didn't have any picks, so I didn't have any rooting interest there, but I enjoyed the draft. There wasn't a lot of big moves. I was like waiting for the big Woj bomb of, Damian Lillard's going here, Zion Williamson's going here, and nothing happened. Like, I think we had some contracts move, like Rashawn Holmes and dudes like that getting traded. Nothing that moves the needle. So the actual
it looks to me that Lillard is not coming here. It looks like
so the most recent report sounded like he's going to give them time to build a roster. Like, what are you guys going to do in free agency? Like, he's open. So if they made a big move or two, they made a signing or a trade that helped them get better, then I think he might stay. But you know, eventually he's got it really feels to me like he doesn't want to say, hey, I want out. He doesn't want to be that guy. He wants to be considered the guy who's, Portland forever. He did everything he could do to stay, and it just didn't work, and the team had to trade him, But he doesn't want to officially ask out, and they don't want to trade him. So yeah, I don't know. I don't rule it out though. I don't rule it out because Portland does feel like they're a rebuilding roster other than Dame. They already traded CJ McCollum out and got some young players. They got Anthony Simmons. They've got Shadon Sharp, and then they just drafted Scoot Henderson. You've got essentially 3 or 4 guards. Like, I guess one of those guys can probably play small forward, but
yeah,
you essentially got 4 guards that are your best 4 players on your team. That's not typically how teams are constructed, but we'll see.
Yeah, it just he doesn't really sound like he's in a hurry to get out at
Right.
all. And
Right.
it's just crazy, man. He has been very patient. And sometimes, you know what? I guess players sometimes find their zone and they're happy and their lives are set and they don't want to upend their families, or, they're not necessarily moving's not, I mean, you know that, dude. You
Yeah.
several times. It's not a fun thing. And now that with a child, that's one thing. I took a job once in San Francisco and they ended up going Chapter 11. So they offered me a job to work on, because it was a nationally syndicated sports talk show in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And they were an American company that branched out into the Spanish side. So they recruited me, and I went over there and I signed a 2-year contract, but it was a 1 year with my option for the second.
Okay.
I didn't want to get locked into something that maybe I didn't like or whatever. And I left my wife here because I didn't want to sell the home. I told her, let's wait the first year. If it goes well and I like it and then I feel good, then I'll ask for an extension. Instead of just a 1 year, I'll ask for a 2 or 3. And if I get it, then we can sell the house and make the move.
Right.
And by the way, back then, San Francisco actually was a nice place. So I end up not having a good experience because they filed Chapter 11. They offered me a job on the English side. I didn't want it. I moved back. Story's done. And then we have my daughter. And so once I had my daughter, I said, I ain't moving anymore. You know what I mean? I was moved around a couple times within Miami, but I didn't get to go to the elementary that went to the same junior high, that went to the same high school. I went to different ones completely, and I had to make new friends everywhere. And I said, no way I was doing that to my daughter. So I could, I've been in the same house for her entire existence. And now she's grown up and moved out. But at least I did my part as a parent to give her a stable, environment as much as possible. And that may be something with Dame, that it happens for you, me, players. We never take into account their personal part of having to upend absolutely everything in your life.
Absolutely, you're right. I mean, there's a human element of it. Yeah, like I know for me, I moved early in my career when I didn't have a kid. Now it would be a lot harder for me to move. Not necessarily as hard it would be in 5 years. In 5 years, when my daughter's in school, then it's a little bit like now I probably could move, but you still have 3 people to deal with, right? Instead of 2 or 1. You get established in a place. You have friends. Your significant other may have a job if they want to. They want to stay in and career wise, and you might have had a house that you bought and it's not advantageous for you to leave at that particular point. Like these are real world problems that we don't necessarily think of for humans. And in the Dame situation, what really sticks out to me is he has called out several of the guys who have built these quote unquote super teams. Like he called out Paul George. You run whenever the challenge gets hard. I remember him making an IG post about that. And his whole claim has been, I'm through and through. I'm going to win a title here, like Giannis did in Milwaukee, essentially staying in the small market and making it work. And he's running out of time. And so it seems like he's torn because he wanted that to be his legacy. And he's like, dang, if I continue to make this my legacy, I have the risk of being Charles Barkley, where I'm a very good player, but everybody says, but you didn't win a title. But you didn't win a championship, right? And so I can tell that he's conflicted. Do you go and request a trade and take away the whole I'm loyal to one city forever, quote unquote legacy, but add a ring? Or do you try to stick it out? And it seems like he's trying to play both sides. And I think his perfect scenario seems to be, hey, trade me, but don't have me physically ask for a trade. I want you to trade me, but I don't want to be the guy that says, hey, send me out. But they're, in Portland's like, well, we're not just going to send you out just because. And it's a little bit of a staring match. So, because right now it does not seem like, even if he went to the Heat, right, there's not a trade out there that I think makes Portland immediately a lot better, right? A lot of these moves are
Denver, bro.
A lot of these moves are like picks down the line or clear up space or that sort of stuff, right? Whereas like a lot of times when you trade superstars, like for example, when KD got traded from the Nets, they got Mikal Bridges back. Mikal Bridges isn't Kevin Durant, but Mikal Bridges is still a top 20, 25 player, you know, and so at least top 25, 30-ish, right? And so there's nobody coming back to Portland side where you're like, hey, this guy's younger. He may not be as good yet, but he gives us a good building block. And so I think that's what probably makes it harder for Portland to move on as well, because they know in the short term they would take a significant dip in their competitiveness.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt that's the case. All right, got to ask you, Dalvin Cook. I know was interviewed, and it like I said from day one that the Dolphins would never trade for him and not give him a big salary.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been saying that, hey, he's gonna be shell shocked. Are you shell shocked at how cold the market is for Dalvin? Because it is ice cold, my brother.
Yeah, I am not, simply because I've seen how teams have treated running backs, particularly over the last few years. I think that I don't remember a running back hitting the open market and getting $10+ million from another team. Like, maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure there has been, but I can't remember the last time we've seen a running back that became a free agent, left to go elsewhere, and got $10+ million. We've seen a couple in-house extensions where, you know, whether it's they traded for Christian McCaffrey or he got that deal, or Derrick Henry I think he got about $13 million a year. You know, guys re-up in-house with extensions. But for you to hit the market and go elsewhere, like a lot of different positions, like look at the Dolphins roster, right? You look like they signed Byron Jones as a player. It didn't work out, but they signed Byron Jones as a player who they paid $18 million to go from another team to here, right? And so even the trades, you know, they signed Teron Armstead at left tackle, do the same thing. They traded for Tyreek Hill, gave them money. So that was 3 different positions they have given other players who they did not homegrown, who another team home grew, significant capital, $15+ million to come here. Running back is not a position that historically teams have done that for. Dalvin Cook getting a little older. There's some questions about injuries in his past. Is he ever going to be that 300-yard back, 300 carry back again? Maybe not, but it's a new modern era. And that position to a lot of people was worth $5 to $8 million instead of $12+ million. And so I think that's where the disconnect is. We know Dalvin Cook, his name value. He's a really good player, but I just think the value of that position is becoming more of we can get away with 1 or 2 guys who are anywhere from, you know, $3 to $8 million rather than one guy who's 15 to 20.
Tyreek Hill, bro. What do we know? Because now they could be pressing charges. We haven't seen the video yet. You know, that to me, that's my problem with all of this. There's been stuff that was reported that was inaccurate, that there wasn't going to be pressing charges. Now they're pressing charges. They weren't investigating it. Now they're still investigating it. And I think Andy still said that they're done with the investigation. He still thinks they're done. So if they're done and they haven't found anything, that really doesn't mean shit for the NFL. The NFL can do whatever the hell they want if they see the video. What do you know about all of this? And have you seen the video, by the way?
Yeah, middle of June to late July is that dead period where all teams are doing are hoping guys don't get in trouble. That's it. I hope I don't get a text or a call, or some guy getting in trouble, some guy getting the headline, some guy doing this. And me, I also hope that doesn't happen, because that means that I got to work and do different things in my downtime. And so we're both, me and GMs are both in line. Do not get in trouble. Mind your business. Stay at home. Do whatever you do in your backyard.
By the way, I don't think people realize this is the last kind of shit that we want to cover.
Right.
We hate covering all this kind of legal crap. Dude, I was stuck for a week in a money laundering case for Tony Martin like 2 decades ago, like 25 years ago or some shit like that. He was caught in the middle of a money laundering case.
Mm-hmm.
I had to go to the courthouse for several days sitting there covering that shit. You know, and I remember my friends telling me, "Oh, that's so cool, bro. You get to." I'm like, "Hell no, dude. I want to be at practice watching them run around and catch a football. I want to talk about trades and this guy's playing well and that guy doesn't." And I like talking about that stuff. People think that we take enjoyment in this kind of shit. No. Bro, boring.
No, it's
And
not fun. Like I enjoy telling the stories of the league, and I enjoy telling the stories of what players do and how good they can be when you don't see them. And then you have these things. And the reality is, whether Tyreek gets charged or gets suspended, he's out here doing things he's not supposed to be doing in whatever capacity. And it's a frustrating headache for the Dolphins. It's a frustrating headache for Tyreek and his team to be able to deal with this. And so that's the situation. And so right now, all I know is they're going through this investigation. I've heard conflicting reports. I'm not sure where we stand as far as the charges being gone about, if they'll eventually stick or if that's a situation where they get dropped. Sometimes it becomes a civil situation where money's involved. I'm not sure how this is going to end up playing out. But, the worry is when Tyreek got here, he had some baggage in Kansas City. Let's call it what it is. And the hope was that you didn't have that situation. And it's been 15, 16 months, and Tyreek, from my understanding, has had no issues in Miami. I haven't heard of anything. There could be something that got brushed under the rug and it just didn't come public, but I hadn't heard anything. And so this is the first thing, and it brings up the old things as well. And so that's not something that Tyreek wants as he tries to develop his image. He's trying to talk about a guy who's trying to create, like I was at his RouteCon wide receiver camp this week. He's trying to build a wide receiver camp that's comparable to Travis Kelce and what he does with tight end view. And so I was there. He's just building it up. I saw him. We talked briefly. He didn't really want to talk much about the situation, of course. But he's a guy who's trying to build this as his legacy, a guy who, unites the wide receiver position.
Well, wait a minute. His last name is Hill, right? Not Trump. Now, if it was Trump, he would tell you everything and just eliminate.
Yes. Yeah, so like he's trying to establish himself as this guy. He's trying to establish himself in his clothing line and his podcast. All of these things as like this bigger than football personality. Well, that is great and all, but when you start doing stuff like that, that hampers your ability to be a presence that people want to be around, that people want to support. Right. And so I think more than anything, Tyreek's hurting himself with these sort of headlines.
Oh, yeah, no, it unearths his past that maybe some people didn't know or forgot or overlooked, and now it gets reminded. And if you're trying to bury it, you can't relive it, bro. You know what I mean? You just can't relive it.
Yeah, so sometimes you just hope that it's a little bit of a wake-up call. Like, I wasn't there. I don't know what extent to it, how much of this is overhyped, how much Tyreek was really did, the slap. I don't know. But my thing is you put yourself in a situation you didn't need to be in. And so hopefully it's a little bit of a wake-up call and say, hey, I can't do stuff like that. Like regardless of the situation, regardless of what was said, who was hyped on, you're Tyreek Hill. That guy is whoever that guy is. You can't put yourself in these situations.
I am seeing here some breaking news. Will Anderson Jr. has just signed his rookie contract. Why hasn't Cam Smith?
Second round pick. There's some numbers in the second round contract as far as like guarantees and offset language in the CBA that sometimes guys want to have. I'm not sure how many second round picks have signed, but a lot of times if there's a second round pick who drafted lower than Cam Smith that has a certain amount of guarantees, well, Cam Smith's going to want those guarantees and more, or that offset and more, right? And there's a guy that's drafted higher than him who may not have those guarantees. His agent is going to still fight for them. And so a lot of times we're talking about fighting over, 50,000, 100,000 in guarantees. Everybody knows these deals are going to get done, and it's more of the circumstances of it all. And so Cam Smith will be signed before training camp. I think it's just a matter of getting some logistics out the way.
Before training camp, does Wilkins or Sealer get done? What's your gut tell you? Wilkins, Sealer, or Connor? Do any of those three get done by the start of training camp? And if any hang in there, which one gets done before the start of the season?
My feel, and it's just kind of an educated guess, is that at least one of them gets done. And my guess at this point is there's some sort of sweetener for Connor Williams before training camp.
Okay.
I'm not reporting this as like it's imminent, but it makes a lot of sense to me. And I know that they want to kind of get this over with. So some type of sweetener. I've suggested, you add another guaranteed, the rest of his contract guaranteed, and maybe give him an incentive where, hey, you play 80% of the snaps and our offense increases our rushing attack 5 to 10 spots, then you get an extra $1 million or $2 million. you know? And so to me, that's a way where, hey, Connor gets more money, maybe doesn't get the full extension he wants yet, but gets him more in this year, and we reevaluate in the offseason. So that to me is probably what I would predict as something that happens before camp.
Before training camp.
Yeah, that would be something that I see. Yeah, before training camp. This is my I don't before the season. I think that Wilkins gets his money. I think Wilkins gets his money. I think he deserves it. I think you maybe he's a situation where you see him in training camp, you see him fully in pads under Vic Fangio's scheme. He flashes a little bit. Vic's like, okay, this is the guy I saw on tape. I like him. We're good. Let's commit to him. So I maybe I'm being overly optimistic as far as contracts, but I do think Connor Williams gets some type of sweetener, gets into camp before training camp. Christian Wilkins gets an extension before the season starts.
All right, Cam. Not a financial advisor, but if I'm you, I'd be buying some Bitcoin and lower your overall number right now before it gets back up to 50, so you can start to, gain by.
So what's your thought on Ethereum? Are you out on Ethereum?
I have a ton of Ethereum.
Okay.
I love Ethereum.
Okay.
I'm a huge. Here, I'll give you some of my portfolio here that I am into. Bitcoin number 1, Ethereum number 2. I'm a guy that I tell people, especially young investors that are in it, 40% of your portfolio should be Bitcoin, 30% should be Ethereum. Then the altcoins, the rest of them, 10, 10, and 10, like 10%. Gotcha. So outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum,
you consider like Ethereum Classic an alt, or is that?
No, yeah, it's an alt, but I would never touch Ethereum Classic.
Okay, gotcha.
Don't buy Ethereum. Ethereum Classic is Ethereum when they realized that Ethereum needed upgrades and it wasn't good enough, and they had a hack or something, so they built a fork and they built Ethereum, and then the original Ethereum became Ethereum Classic, and so then they started building on Ethereum Classic, and that's why it has value now. Just like Luna, there's an old Luna because the new Luna that came in became the new chain. And so Ethereum is the chain. Ethereum Classic was their old chain that they discarded. So that's why you see Ethereum Classic, but never invest in Ethereum Classic. That's not going anywhere. But Ethereum is definitely one that I love. Polygon is another one that I love. Matic, Cardano, Atom, which is Cosmos, Immutable X, VeChain, HBAR, Hedera Hashgraph, Chainlink, Polkadot, Avalanche, Decentraland, Algorand, Illuvium, ApeCoin, Gala, SHIB, Solana, Injective Protocol, Alethea Artificial Intelligence, and Engine Coin. Those are some of the ones that I'm involved in.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's a large portfolio. I'm involved in about 24 coins, I think it is, 25 coins. Those are some of the ones that I like. And Star Atlas. I don't know if I mentioned Star Atlas and Jasmine, actually. Those are higher risk, but very high reward if they hit too at the same time. But I'm serious, dead serious. My suggestion to you is if your Bitcoin's in the 40s, you're right now at 30, all you're doing is lowering your overall price so you can get to a profit a lot faster, if you understand what I'm saying. So if I'm you, I'd invest in a little bit more Bitcoin. That's what I would do. Okay? Can't lose. You can't lose with that. Your daughter is going to thank you because that's what I'm doing. I'm never touching my Bitcoin. I'm just going to hand it off to my daughter.
Gotcha.
So, let her roll with it, bro. That's what you and I are doing now. We're not building shit for us, our careers maybe, but
right.
Futures we're building for them, not for us. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. I appreciate you, man. Great weekend. Thank you.
Absolutely. You too, man.
You got it. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe and catch his work there at the NFL Network. The Wolf Pack has been unleashed.
This is the Big O Show.